The Me&Him podcast. Well, thanks for clicking on the Me&Him podcast. We're back again. It's me, Jason, with my dad, Matt. How you going, Dad?
I'm still alive, thank God.
Yeah, he's still alive. 81 now, the oldest living jellyfish in history. Is that true?
No, not in history, in the last 100 years.
So that's impressive. He calls himself the silverback. I haven't checked his back, but I'm pretty sure it's silver.
It glows in the dark.
And so we're on season 2 of the podcast right now, and we've been having so much fun inviting people into the virtual studio, really great men, interesting men, and today we have the most interesting man of all, Mr. Mike Stanley Jones. Welcome to the podcast, sir.
Don't do that to me, Jay. Don't pump me up. I'm happy to be here talking to you guys. You're awesome.
Yeah, no, look, the crowd is going wild in the future when we release this. But Mike, so good to have you here. We just had a quick chat before we started recording, and Dad and Mike actually had their microphones and set up working, and here's me trying to organise it all. I couldn't hear a thing. So yes, I was embarrassed, meant to be the guy who knows all this stuff, but we all got on. So Dad, I've invited Mike on. Mike is we've known each other how long now, mate?
It's got to be 18 years. That's when I started Nippers with your son.
Yeah, that's right. Started in Nippers, down in my viewpoint, in Avalon and the northern beaches, God's own, the insular peninsula, as it's known. And Mike and I have kind of gone through a bit of a journey. We've catch up semi-regularly, and I always have the best time with you, mate.
Nice. Love it when you get in contact. It's awesome.
Yeah.
This one was a bit of a surprise, but...
The podcast?
Yeah.
I said to him, Dad, I'm like, oh, look, hey, buddy, how do you feel about doing a podcast? He goes, oh, I'm not that interesting. Why do you want me?
Thank you. Word perfect.
Well, you are interesting, sir. And Dad, in the short preamble or the pre-conversation we had before we started recording, what do you reckon? You had a quick chat to Mike. What do you think?
That was T-shirt. Liz Hurley was one of my favourite girls.
Liz Hurley, actually her earlier surf brand, but that's okay. And Dad, I'll let you explain this because we hopped on earlier to sort of record earlier in the day, and Mike was MIA, and we're a bit worried about him. And I remember, what did you say to me? Because I told you about his personality and everything.
He obviously had a higher priority.
He had a high priority, right? So I didn't hear from him for an hour or two after that, and I'm like, I text him going, buddy, is everything okay? You all right? And Mike, can you tell me what your higher priority was, please?
Well, I'm very sorry for you guys.
You don't have to be sorry.
Don't apologise.
You had a good excuse.
The New South Wales coast at the moment is copping an absolute massive surf. And I took my youngest son to a place called Rave, and we rode some waves and had one of the most exciting surfs of our life. And 3 hours passed just like that. I'm scorched. Wow. My face is sunburned. My limbs are tired. But, oh, my God, the adrenaline was running for those 3 hours. And then we realised that we were supposed to be doing a podcast with you guys. So I was very sorry.
Luckily
you guys have forgiven me.
And when Jason told me, I said, father-son surfing is far more important than talking to two people, one of whom is a total stranger. Because this whole podcast is about the father and son relationship and how important it is.
It worked out. Yeah, you were true to form, my friend. And also, there's an element of being present in those moments, and not just present with your son, but present in that sort of swell, which I was down on the coastline today, and those rollers out the back just coming in. It's pretty impressive. So to be out on there, I don't know how you do it, to be honest, dude. It's scary.
No, I'm going to admit we picked one of the smallest waves there is on the peninsula because we're learning foiling. So we're up on one of these foil.
Oh, you're on the foil?
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So I don't know what I'm doing taking it on at this age, but I'm having a ball, like you say, with my kid. And we're just one for one at the moment, just every training session, time on board, and we're getting better. We're getting better.
Oh, wow. Look, I mean, so much to talk about with you, Mike, and I've been really looking forward to this conversation. I know that I mentioned to you a while back, and after my last trip to Sydney to see you, I really wanted to sort of expedite it. So I'm so glad we could be doing this. Dad and I have been doing this podcast now for the last year or so. We're doing it in seasons because I just don't know how long it's going to be around for. So I figure we'll get 12 done. Hopefully I can do it. No, seriously, no. It's also because we wanted to kind of do a nice clean sort of 12 episodes and then sort of start again and have a sort of a fresh take. And we're maybe 8 or 9 in so far, but had some really interesting people on. But the whole concept here, the whole theme that runs through this podcast is about father-son relationships, about male-to-male relationships, about real conversations, and also just about, I guess, a bit of joie de vivre as well, about having some fun. And you are the perfect guy to be talking to about having fun, because I've been to your raves, your beach raves, your secret beach raves over the years.
I wish I'd thought of those when I was your age.
Oh,
because all my parties were inside.
Oh, the amount of people that want to dance on a beach blows us away, doesn't it, Jay?
Oh, unbelievable, dude.
We supply some music and some laser lights and a bit of smoke if the atmosphere's there for it, and put on some great tunes, and people just come out of the woodwork to dance. And it's like 80 people on a dance floor, 3 hours solid dancing. It's so much fun. I got to say,
dancing on the sand it's a workout. Your thighs and your calves the next day.
You know about it the next day, but at the time, it's forgiving.
The Me&Him podcast. There's lots to talk about. You know how to have fun, no doubt about it. But I want to start at the beginning a little bit about you, where you grew up, and Dad, jump in at any time here. But just to sort of set the scene, where you grew up, your family environment, your relationship with your dad, and also you becoming a dad. I just want to sort of understand a little bit about your background before we sort of dive into any topics. So where to begin?
I'm a very lucky guy because my mum and dad were English, and they came to Australia in 1968 in search of surf. So I was 1.5 years old.
So they weren't 10 bob poms.
They were. So they took 6 weeks on a boat coming out with me, the screaming 1.5-year-old, and persevered with it and got here with just a wooden trunk of belongings and made a go of it. They did 6 months in Kirribilli, and then they came to Avalon, and I've been here the whole time.
Wow.
So I am the most insular peninsula person you will meet. So I consider myself really lucky because they couldn't have found a nicer place. And it's a lovely community. And yeah, I had a really nice relationship with my dad. There was only 24 years between us. So he was a young dad, and he skateboarded with us, surfed with us. He'd put a tow rope up from the back of the car and tow us up the long hills so we could skate back down. When I got older, I did triathlons with him. So my dad was like my best mate. He was just a guy that you could spend time with and just love it, just naturally, no effort, just slotted in nicely.
Well, sounds beautiful.
Yeah, and it also sounds a lot like the relationship you have with your boys from what I've seen as well, Mike.
So I have taken so many leaves out of my dad's book. He set me up beautifully for adventures and for sport and just life in general. And he did it without trying. It was just him through and through, and with my mum. So we led a life of camping and fun runs, giant jog sort of stuff. And so we led a very healthy, some would say a little bit hippie lifestyle. No, not really. We were just very laid back, outdoorsy and enjoying ourselves.
Surfing kind of mindset, surfing culture.
Yes, yeah. So mum didn't work, so she was a stay-at-home mum, and that made for comfortable life for us all. Dad was an engineer for half of my upbringing, and then he was a postie for the second half. Just wanted out and started posting for the last 20 years of his life. So he's gone now, which I tell you what, listening to your podcast has made me really sad that I haven't some of the conversations that you guys are having together as father and son. Because there's one thing I'm going to admit is, having listened to you guys' podcast to date, I didn't get to have a lot of grunty conversations with my dad. So we were there in presence and doing stuff together, but I can only remember a couple of really deep and meaningful conversations that I had with him. I absorbed him and did a lot of things with him, but I didn't get to have conversations with him, which you guys have brought that point out, realizing that you guys get to have these conversations now, which is gorgeous. And you're inspiring others to do the same.
It's been very important to me, Mike, because I didn't have an opportunity to have those sorts of conversations with my dad. Everything was very remote. And when we took him in and looked after him in his last years, I would sit down beside him and try to initiate a conversation about the past, but, kindly, and he just didn't want to borrow a bit.
No.
And so when Jason mentioned this concept of a podcast, it was kind of new to me, being, a baby boomer, and I thought about it and I thought, holy smoke, here's my opportunity to listen to my son before I die, which I never had with my dad.
Yeah, how good's that? Good on you, Jay.
And look, to be honest, my dad and I have had very open conversations much of my life, and we've also shared this sort of deep sense of folly with life as well. Just laughing at.
Yeah, we both got wicked senses of humour.
Yeah. So our conversation will dive into the spiritual, to the psychedelic, to the mundane, to the ridiculous, and we'll keep each other well amused. And then it was a couple of our conversations there. We did say, we should have recorded this because it was very entertaining. But
is.
We do our best with with these conversations, and so I just want to say thank you firstly, because that is so. I'm so appreciative to hear that what we're doing it for us, but that it lands in that way and makes you think of those moments with your dad, and then probably makes you think of that moments with your sons as well, I would imagine. And love is shown in a lot of different ways, I guess. Sometimes it is presence and activities and time, and other times it is just holding space, and sometimes it is, traveling into that area of the deeper conversation, which to some degree guys have trouble articulating.
Yeah, big time.
Oh, yeah.
So with that in mind, you told me something just before we started recording, and I think it goes to the nub of sort of fatherhood and everything. You said that you were training a prenatal class, right? And I've known you a long time. Somehow I missed that, and please explain.
Okay, it's probably one of my biggest secrets. No one's known I've done it for the last 10 years.
Oh, no way.
So I got asked by Royal North Shore to come and take one of the sessions of the prenatal class. And it's when the guys and girls get to split up, and I take the boys into a soundproof room and we get to talk about whatever we like. And it's great because I'll share some of my experiences, and then hopefully they'll open up and share some of their, say, fears coming into about to become a dad. So I usually get about 3/4 of an hour with them, and it's a non-stop talk fest. And I'll give them as many things as I can give, as in I've got 4 kids, so I've been through, 4 times at least. And then we have open to questions and that sort of thing. And we change nappies in there, and I give them as many tips as I can of staying ahead as a guy, because I find the woman gets to do it kind of naturally. She's much more natural at the whole having kids than the bloke.
She's got a bigger support group.
Yes, big time.
Other females, be they older or the same age group, all gather around and they share information, whereas men don't talk about these things.
No, not at all. They don't talk. So the guy, he'll have the baby and he'll go back to work and resume his normal life. And half the time his workmates won't even know that it depends where he works, they won't even know he's had a kid. So one of the things I say to him, when you're on your way home, I want you to do one thing for me, is prep yourself. No matter what kind of a day you've had at work, prep yourself for, I'm going to come into the household, see where the baby's at in the routine of things, where mother and baby are at, and prep yourself for gathering the baby up and getting it out of the house. So leave the premise, you and baby, leave the premise for an hour if you can, whether that's in the pram or whether it's in the car or in a papoose on the front of your chest, and just have some bonding time. One, it gives you bonding time with your kid. You get to see what makes him smile or what makes him sad, or puts him to sleep, But two, and the most important part, it gives your girlie an hour to herself. Mm-hmm. She's just had that whole period of time when you were off to work, being in charge of this little thing that comes with no instructions manual, and she's had to work out what makes him laugh, cry, when he needs feeding, all for herself. So by you taking it off her hands and leaving the premise, you give her that chance to do whatever she wants. Be it, she might want to go to the gym. She might want to go back to sleep. She might want to go round the house tidying up things that she couldn't do because she was afraid of waking the kid earlier, Wow. Just give her that time. And it's a good one, because the guys, their faces sort of light up a little and they sort of go, yeah, okay, that's something I feel like I can take on.
It's a task.
It's a task. Yes.
We want to be productive here.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, wow.
So, it's a very enjoyable thing to do. I've really enjoyed the 10 years of doing it once a month or once every 2 months or whatever it is. So I present it with a midwife. So the midwife's there to take the girls whilst I'm off with the boys. The girls are having a nice talk with the midwife. And it's just a lovely session to do. So, yeah.
Well, I've had four kids, and I must say, you do get better each time you have a child, from at first, I actually remembered my first antenatal class, and I didn't even know what antenatal meant. It sounds bad because it's like anti something, and I turned up.
But the word ends in an E, and it means before.
Oh.
It's funny,
does it? Like ANTE?
Yes.
Thank you. I should have paid more attention in the brochure. All right. So, but I remember them showed us a video, and this is, excuse me being crass here, but they sat us down, and it was a female instructor. No males taking me off to give me the real talk. I wish they had done that then, because that would have been really helpful, because it took me two kids to work out, I've got to help out and do more and whatever. But anyway, they showed us a video of a lady giving birth. And they warned us, and they said this could be a bit confronting and what have you.
It's spectacular, because I've seen your births.
So I sat there and watched this video. And this is before, the first time father, whatever. And I remember thinking to myself, I walked out perplexed, thinking, my whole life, I've been thinking about putting things in there. I've never considered something coming out. And I knew the concept meant cerebrally. It was when I saw it, I was a bit like, I couldn't really say much after that for a while. I was, oh, wow, that was, it took me back. Sorry. But
I love it.
Do they still show videos, Mike?
They do, but nothing graphic.
Oh, okay.
Actually, so for the other 5 sessions, they may show the one session I'm there for. No, it's above there.
Above the waist.
Can I just briefly interrupt? We had our children starting in the late 60s, and my wife and I both believed in natural childbirth. So there was a doctor who specialized in this, and you've got no idea what a confronting presentation it is when you're actually there and she's squeezing the baby out. And then after the baby, there's this long cord which the placenta is attached to, and it's this big organ which has been supplying all the nutrition and everything to develop the baby, and it's purple and it's green and it's orange, and you're going, what the?
There's 2 babies.
There's a lot to take in, isn't there?
So yes, we could go further into this, but we are not fully qualified, or maybe Mike is a bit more qualified than us. But Mike, so that I found that very, very interesting, and power to you, sir. You've always been someone who was, doing interesting things in order to learn and also to give back and what have you. And where we met, if you could just allow me to sort of, go back in time a little bit, where we met, I remember we had, because our oldest boys were at Nippers, and they just started. I think they were, the first year, or they were 6-year-olds or whatever.
Under sixes, yeah.
Yeah, under sixes. And they had their first Nippers camp. It was just over at the basin, short hop over from over Pittwater.
I remember this one.
Yeah, we all piled our stuff on the little boats and we went over to set up our tents. But by the time, we at this point, we got the 2 young boys and obviously organising them and trying to get everything sorted. We were running a bit late, and it was getting a bit dark by the time we got there, maybe 4 or 5 o'clock. And I thought I had everything. So there I was, trying to set up the Taj Mahal tents. Kind of the sun's going down, no mallet, no torch. Kind of thinking to myself, I'm very ill prepared here. And so I thought I better wander around, and then of course my wife's looking at me and the kids are all sort of getting a bit cold and wondering what's going on. I'm thinking, I'm failing as a man right now. All right. So I wander around.
And you were.
I was. Definitely. I was learning. There's no such thing as failure. It's feedback. Right. And so I ended up going across the tent, and I remember this guy, Mike from Nippers, and I said, hey, Mike, you wouldn't have a mallet, would you? And he said, yeah, you got a mallet, pulled one out. His tent was already set up. He was well done. He was sitting there having a drink or something. And next minute he goes, do you need a hand? I had this huge tent laid out. I wasn't even sure. I'd never put it together before. And so next minute Mike's there, he ropes in another guy, and we start sort of, putting the tents through the...
I love it. Ropes in another guy.
Ropes in another guy. So eventually, it took us literally 20 minutes. The whole tent was together. Everything's nailed, malleted down. All the pegs are in. And we finally sat down there and we had a bit of a chat. And I remember that was the first night, Mike, that, we had a bit of music going, we had a drink, we had a chat, and the kids were all happy just doing their thing out, playing near the water, and it was dark, and it was just a fun environment. And I thought to myself, well, it's actually really good to get to know you, because I'd seen you and we chatted a little bit, but it wasn't until that, a time where we actually had a bit of time to spend together. And so firstly, thank you for saving my ass.
Oh, nice. I remember that tent, Jay. You had bought the most complex tent on the market. You needed all
We wanted
the help.
3 different chambers and everything. But
you got them. Eventually.
Yeah, you need to be a structural engineer, I think.
I loved that camping weekend, because really that's where a lot of us all came together. There was a head age manager who I'd never seen when he's had a few to drink, and the kids were all around the fire with the with the marshmallows, and he'd sent them all off into the bush to get long sticks, and so they could toast their marshmallows. But as he got more and more pissed, this age manager, and the sticks were getting fewer and fewer. He was just telling the kids to put the marshmallows on their fingers. It was like, no,
yeah, you need to go to bed.
It was a funny night.
Oh man! Well, look, that was the way we got to know each other. But B, then from there we spent a lot of time down at the beach. Our kids, oldest kids, Max and Tyson, knew each other, went through the same age group, and I ended up getting my bronze and spending time with you guys down the beach and doing sort of sunrise paddles and everything. I got to say, buddy, I wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for you. You seem to corral a bit of a troop around you. So I wanted to ask you, I guess the question I'm building towards is, what makes you want to be that active in the community to not only help dudes who forget their mallets, but also to lean in as an age manager and to do the extra stuff? I know you did bronze training and first aid training and so many things to help people in that area. What drives you to do that?
I think knowing it comes back tenfold. The karma, you put that time in doing that age managing work, and look at the love it's brought back over the years. I mean, I've had 18 years of it now, and I know those kids well. I have the conversations in Woolies, in the local shopping centre with them. They come up with fondest memories like you're bringing up now, and it makes life nice, doesn't it? I've done similar things with soccer training and touch footy training, and you get to know those teams. You get to know the kids more than you do the parents. The parents are on the sideline, and each year I'd put my hand up and say, look, anyone else want to coach this year?
Everyone's busy on their phone.
I'm having a ball, but no one puts their hand up. And it's like, well, okay, I'll do it again, but you guys don't know what you're missing. You know, you hear the conversations of those kids, you know where they're at in life. You know the conversations that they're having with each other in the school playground, and you know you can help out your kid because we bought a 9-seater van so that we could bring the soccer team to soccer. You know, it was great. You could go to a carnival, a Nippers carnival, and take half of the age group in your van, and you'd say to the parents, look, you guys, you can have a sleep in if you like and join us later. I'll take all the kids down so I know they're all good for registration now. But the conversation on the way down in the van was awesome. They were all talking so much along the way, and you got to see where your kid was at in life and was able to help out with those conversations, you know, later, you know. So it comes back. I think you put that time in. But I don't think I knew it at the time it would come back. I mean, it was thoroughly enjoyable, but it comes back big time, tenfold.
Mike, I've got a question for you. Do you think it's at all possible that what you are doing for these young people, not just your own, but others, has been triggered by the example that your father showed you?
I was thinking the same thing.
That the nurturing that he gave you and the adventures that he shared with you?
Big time. So I was, for instance, not very good at being a soccer coach, but I was fit and I could outrun the team. So for soccer training, I would get the mums and dads to drop them off at Pittwater, and we would run through the bush, commando style, up and over as many hills so that no cars could see us. So we would run, it would have been about a 5K run. But those boys had so much fun. They were so fit by the time they got on that soccer field. They could outrun the other team. Sure, we didn't have many ball skills, but we were fit and we felt great at the end of it. And that just all comes from my dad. It was every track on the peninsula was known by our family. Every bypass, through to the beach, we would know or track. And so I was able to take the kids on those kind of adventures because of, stuff I'd done with my family, with my dad.
The Me&Him podcast. Look, we know technology is changing everyone, and it's increasing in its, the speed and the rate of the new stuff coming out, and kids are addicted to. My daughter, for example, has an iPad or an tablet in each location she's at. My house, her Grammy's house, her mum's house, whatever. And I'm not saying that she's addicted to that. She plays soccer and she does lots of very active things, and we go out and do the beach, and she loves swimming. But there's this tension point between the sedentary kind of passive, locked onto technology, which is almost, it feels like a polar opposite of this running through the wilderness and exerting your energy and figuring things out on the fly. I wanted to get your perspective on where you think things are at like that, because you seem very invested into the adventure and the outdoorsmanship, and particularly we're talking here about boys and men. What's your take on that and technology, and any thoughts that you might want to share?
So in my mind, it came down to the adrenaline rush that these kids are getting. And I can provide an adrenaline rush by taking them for a run, swim, run, or run through the bush. They can get an equal adrenaline rush from playing one of those games. So it was proven that some soccer teams were asked to play the games before soccer, and then see that they had actually had their adrenaline rush by playing the game, and then they were unable to perform as well during the soccer. So I always had that in the back of my mind that, all right, there's this choice. You could get it from your game, or you could get it from something you do with me. And I always wanted to show that, hey, how good does that make you feel? When we get home and you see them beaming and they're telling their mum, what we've just done, to me, that told the story itself, or helped make up their mind what they would want to do with their lives. So I've never, with the technology and the computers in this house, I've never had to once ban my kids or ask them to put it down or I've had enough, because I think over the years we were able to show them enough of a life that you got a natural adrenaline release compared to what you're going to get if you sit for a similar amount of time on your device.
A very good point, because we are increasingly divorced from nature. So if you take them for a run through the sandhills, there's that immediate physical connection, from the foot upwards, and the smell of everything around you. It's nature. And that's where we came from. And that's where we're going back to, by the way. I can assure you of that.
Melding back into the earth.
It can't come soon enough.
Well, we won't go there just yet.
Yeah, no, it's a bit macabre. But look, no, I mean, that leads me to think about the whole idea of grounding as well. I mean, I was down. Mike, you'd be proud of me. I ran the beach today, ran the stairs 2 at a time. I went into the water. Already did my stretching and meditation this morning. I've learned the hard way that if I don't do those balancing aspects in my life, things turn sour pretty quickly, whether it be anxiety, whether it be a sense of sort of like hopelessness that, I'm trying so hard and not moving the direction I want to. But once you start to put these sort of pillars down in terms of a bit of physical activity, a bit of mental stillness, and, maybe I'll pick up the guitar and have a strum or listen to music and all that, then I find there's enough stability there that you think that the waves don't feel as big. You kind of cutting your own path and things kind of splash off you. So I think what you're doing, and I've met your kids. Your kids are wonderful, dude. You and Nikki have done such a great job. I love them. I think they're great individuals. I love speaking to them. I love getting out for breakfast and bumping into one of them in your kitchen and kind of having a yarn, and it's just so natural and easy. They're so self-assured, and this is a testament to you guys, making the decisions, bringing them up in a certain environment and giving them influences that have just allowed them to almost flourish as they naturally would, right? It's not like you're putting strategies in place. It's you're allowing the environment for them to flourish in their full capacity.
Yes. I think you've hit the nail on the head.
That's a compliment.
Thanks. It is that. I don't think we knew what we were doing at the time, but it just felt natural to go along that way. Just show them stuff. Just, show them what's out there and then let them choose and then support, what they're choosing. So they've all gone in different ways, career-wise, to what I ever would have imagined. But again, it's been lovely watching the journey evolve. So I think it can be hard for some people with the whole technology side of things. I think I'm lucky that fitness was a part of our family psyche without having to try too hard, and that fitness alone just gives you that adrenaline release that gets those natural endorphins kicking in. And like you say, Matt, it's maybe going to go back that way one day. But at the moment, we're just riding it out, aren't we? I mean, I might do all these lovely things with my kids, but geez, I still had to have one of them set me up with this computer and these headphones today because I couldn't do it for myself, So it comes.
One of my favorite phrases these days, and I mean it, when I get a technological problem is, where the hell is a 5-year-old when you really need one?
Exactly. Which you say you've got to embrace it, It's here. They know no other. So only one of my kids was lucky enough to get as far as he got through life without the computer. But then the second, third, and fourth, it was there in their hands.
What do they call it? The difference between a digital native and a digital tourist. and many of us, from X's up, are digital tourists, and we'll do our best, and we're trying to learn the language and everything. I think, but when you're a digital native, it's you're there in the middle.
Big time different.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, trust me, I have many accomplishments in many fields, and I'm a digital nobody.
Oh, Matt, I'm looking at you there with your headphones on, your big fancy microphone in front of you, and you're looking pretty techie to me.
Oh, no, look,
he had a 5-year-old set it up for him.
Yeah, I've dressed up for the occasion.
So look, you brought up something just earlier, Mike. You sort of said it's not easy for everyone. Like, you obviously live in a beautiful part of the world, right? I lived in Avalon 10 or 12 years. It's more or less a paradise. One of the nicest places, and I travelled the world. Or not quite as good as Port Macquarie, but it's getting there. And sorry, I'm just working for tourism, Port Macquarie right now. Please sponsor us. But in terms of people who don't have, not near a beach, families who are busy, trying to bring their kids up, trying to make sure they're happy, and technology is an easy way to occupy them, as you say, gives them a bit of an adrenaline, makes them smile. But then it leads them down a bit of a path. What are your thoughts? And I know you're not sort of some expert on technology and children and things like that, but what can parents do to help steer their kids in that direction when maybe they don't have a beach on their doorstep, or it's, they haven't had maybe the background that you've had in a very active lifestyle? Any thoughts on that?
I'm going to go back to the active lifestyle, because I've asked questions along the way, because I've grown up here. And this is all I know. I've wondered, western suburbs of Sydney, what do you do for entertainment? And
you shoot each other.
It's a bit on the nose, Dad.
Press stop on your recording, Jake.
I'll bleep that bit out. Oh, God.
And the Blue Mountains are out there to be discovered, and there's rivers, and there's bushwalks, and there is stuff still out there to be done. And I'm not big on everything else, what can be done, because this is all I know. And I have roped in as much of it adventure-wise as you've been saying, Jay, and more. And I have loved that. But I did ask the question, though. I'm working an hours away from myself, from where I live at the moment.
Yeah.
And so I am with a different bunch of people who have lived different lives, and I'm loving it, just having my eyes and ears opened to what they've done in life, because it's been very different than me. But the physical activity side of things can be a fantastic baseline.
It's funny. I lived out, because you're in Meadow, you're training in Meadowbank, right? And I lived out in Ermington, Parramatta way for a while, and I never lived in this doesn't have to be Sydney. This could be any city, but in the sort of suburban areas of a metropolis. And I always thought that Parramatta area was kind of a bit, a bit grey and just overdeveloped and what have you. I found the most beautiful lake park area that looked like I was in the middle of the wilderness.
Exactly.
That it was Parramatta sort of park or reserve, and it was about a 3 or 4K, quite a hard walk, a lot of like rock paths and what have you, that I never would have known was there unless someone had brought it up to me. And I did that walk about every month or so. I'd take that walk, and it always reminded me you just got to look. You got to look for what's around you.
Exactly.
Nature is there.
I've taken an old council clean-up bike into work, and I leave it there, and I get out on my lunch times or occasionally after work and explore those areas. And along the Parramatta River there, you wouldn't believe the amount of bike paths that the government have supplied. And they take you through along riverfronts and through parkways. You don't have to go on a road. It's really well set out, more so than we've got up here on the northern beaches. It's very hard to go from suburb to suburb here without coming across a main road with no strip to be able to bike ride on. So you're taking your life in your hands if you ride bikes around our roads, whereas out there it's all there's a New South Wales government website you can look at that it's full of bike paths.
Great advice. If you haven't had a bike, you haven't ridden a bike for years, get one. I got one a few years ago. I went out, you'll be proud of me, Mike. I went out yesterday, 20K ride through some of the most beautiful bushland, some of the hardest hills. My legs were burning, my ankles were sore. I got back home, I'm like, what did I do? I'm too old for this stuff. But I feel good today, and the amount of fresh air and I guess like blood that's flowing through all your organs and everything just to get out there. And that's just for me as an adult male. But for kids, they want to expend that energy anyway, don't they? They want one way or the other. And a bike is a great way to do it. Going on a ride. That's right.
And if you can rope them in some way and get that expelled energy, oh my God, they come out with such a high. They're high-fiving each other. You're got a big grin on yourself, because you've just got them to expel that energy. They're going to go home happy to their mums and dads, and they're going to sleep well that night. And chances are they're going to talk about what they did at school, and they're going to talk about what they did the night before school the next day. And you're going to get more and more kids wanting to do it. We had some adventures when we were doing nippers. I didn't want them to go to school. I wanted them to go to school and brag about what they'd done on Sunday. Instead of these little kids running around with nippers hats on, I wanted them to be able to go to school and say, I paddled from one beach to another, nicked as much sand off their beach possible, balanced it on my board, and came back to my beach. And when we took a photo from who took the most sand from whose beach, we won, And it was like, what? You paddled from one beach to another, and you're only 9 years old. Oh, wow. It's exciting. So you got to. What I used to do was aim a couple of years ahead of them. So you're always challenging them. You're always giving them something grunty to do that then they go back to their mates and talk about what they just did.
Which builds self-esteem too, right?
Big time.
So, Dad, I know we're gas-bagging here about all this stuff. I've been with Mike on these adventures, and I got to say, I had these, 9-year-olds overtaking me on the boards going beach to beach. Because I just couldn't give up and my arms would be too tired, and then Mike would be turning back going, "You're all right." I'm like, "No, go ahead. Just leave me. Save yourself."
I remember that.
Oh, it's punishing, especially when you start doing it when you're 40 rather than 14.
It's funny. It's funny when you count on an adult as being water safety, then he turns out to be a liability.
Thanks, bud. I appreciate it.
So you dug yourself in for that one, Jay.
You did.
Oh, man. Well, look, I mean, this is the sort of the joviality I love in our conversations, and it's very similar. You've got a very similar energy to Dad and I, in that, you've got to have a young aspect and a young viewpoint, and you're only as young as you want to be, as your thinking, as your mindset is, right? And one example of that, and I want to sort of maybe round it off here a little bit. You've always been fit guy, invested into the community, invested into the young kids, particularly the young boys, the young males, up and coming males, and they've all had a lot of respect for you in that regard. And I have too. But then when you've thrown these rave parties for the adults, that has come left of center, right? Like I'm like, a rave, what? And you'd WhatsApp and it'd be like, dress will be available on the night, bring some, some day glow paint, or, you had a whole list of, or a couple of things you'd bring along. But what made you think about doing that at your, not at your age, not that you're old, but most people at this point are settling down a little bit, watching Netflix, but you're throwing a rave on a beach?
Tell me, Jay, do you like to dance?
I love dancing, but you don't get an opportunity to do it when you get a bit older.
Does music do it for you? Does it thump through your chest, decent music, and make you want to dance?
Yeah, I still dance by myself here sometimes.
So that's what I wanted to provide. And I started it in my garage. I black plasticed off the garage and had some people over for a dance, and we put on a playlist in there for a couple of hours of music that we felt would make you dance. And with a bit of laser and a bit of smoke, it created that sort of nightclubby sort of atmosphere, and we danced. And it was amazing. Just to see this energy come out in adults is so good. They don't want to go to clubs anymore, and you've got kids, that you've got to put to bed, that kind of stuff.
The kids were watching all the adults, Dad, by the way, going,
no,
what the hell?
There's never been a kid present at one of these.
Oh, okay.
No,
you get rid of them?
We got rid of all of ours. We billet them out for the night because They're a lot of fun just to see adults get down. I would make it so dark in there that you couldn't see each other anyway. So no one knew if they had any bad dance moves or not. And they're just fun, aren't they? You've got to admit.
They were fun.
Just to see that many people
So you're speaking to a guy, like all of us on this call love to dance, right? And Dad, I don't know if you do that much these days without throwing a hip out or something, right?
Oh!
No, I can't throw it away. It stuck to me.
Oh, right. Well, but I should say, Mike, I don't know if you know this about my dad, right? When I was younger, not only did he run the most successful pub in all of Auckland at the time where we lived, called the Glue Pot, which was the place where all the big bands went, and it was just the go-to social place. Oh. But then
on a busy night, we'd have 2,000 people in the pub.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So he ran that place. And then off the back of that and a few other things, he ended up running and owning the hottest nightclub in town, called the Brat.
Wow.
Yeah, the hottest nightclub. And
Jeez.
So when you talk about dancing, I remember rocking up there, when I was underage, but I'd get in because I knew the owner, right? It was my dad. And I'd see Dad, he would have had a couple of drinks on the dance floor, and he's cutting sick on the dance floor, getting into it, sweat fucking coming out and everything. But I could see the love of music, right? And that, to some degree, I kind of would laugh and I was a bit embarrassed, but at the same time, I also really love seeing my dad just enjoying himself, and just feeling the music. And Dad, you've always had a thing for music, right? It's always been in your blood.
And what he forgot to mention was when I had my French restaurant, and I used him as a barman sometimes. I didn't know the little bastard was giving his mates free cocktails.
I plead the fifth. But I guess what I'm saying is that urge to listen to good music, to be able to move, to be able to appreciate and feel, and almost vibe with life, right? And release,
entertain people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yes, hospitality.
Yes. You're talking about triggering them in a structured environment. To just let go and have a great time. Well, my nightclub was huge. It had 3 floors, and that's what we did.
Nice, I love it.
And anybody who says that hospitality is an easy option does not have a clue. You work 16-hour days, and you do it because you love to do it.
Yeah,
and you can.
My brother's a publican.
Yeah. Was it really? Okay. So, well, look. I mean, that Dad, you actually given me a different lens on this, because Mike, I know you said you love to dance, but actually you love to see people releasing and enjoying themselves and creating the space.
Yeah, that's why you do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it sober. I'll just be looking that whole night. I just really enjoy just seeing people get the chance to let loose like that and go off. And
the Beatles summed it up in the early 60s. The love you take is equal to the love you make.
Hey, I like it.
He always has the old cliche Beatles quotes.
I mean, you couldn't encapsulate it better.
Well, nice. I think that's a perfect place to sort of land this, because whether it be adults, whether it be kids, whether it be your family, and I'm sure your lovely wife Nikki, what you invest into them and the sacrifices you make, which ideally are the one sacrifice you want to make, to see those come back. I think we're talking about this in a previous episode, Dad, the emotional return on investment. To see what comes back to you from that is so rewarding. And I think you've worked something out, Mike. I think you've worked out that, you give people sort of some of the best of you, and you get so much back that it's this virtuous cycle.
I don't think he's worked it out at all. I think he, no, listen carefully to me. I think he's just been a natural. He didn't have to think about it. It was the lifestyle that was gifted to him by his parents, and he's gifting it to others.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Yay.
That sums it up beautifully.
Nice. Well, look, I got to say, mate, we could chat for ages, and look, if you're open to it, love to do more of this. But for the sake of the listeners, we'll wrap it up now, because there's only so much of my and ahhing you can probably handle. But look, it's been so good to have you on the podcast, Mike. I knew it would be fun. The time's just flowing. I've probably haven't gained a lot more insight, but I've just enjoyed being with you again, and because I know who you are, and I want to keep having fun in your space as long as we possibly can, and sharing thoughts and ideas. Dad, I don't know about you. First time you've met Mike.
Give me a chance.
That's what I was about to do.
Mike, it's been an absolute privilege to have your company and to experience such a mature, beautiful person.
Thank you so much. But I, in turn, have to say, talking to you two has been an absolute beautiful experience. It's really lovely hearing the two of you, father and son, talking. I said off air earlier, I think you've got the smoothest voices that I would be happy to listen to for hours. It's just, and the content is gorgeous. So well done, you two, for doing what you do. You're really opening our eyes to all sorts that most of the time should have been said earlier. So thanks heaps for what you do and what you're doing. Good on you guys.
Same to you.
Well,
Yep.
Been a pleasure, Mike. Yeah. Love your work, and we'll see you soon, no doubt.
Love it.
The Me&Him podcast. Wow. What a great conversation. I've known Mike for, as he said, I think 18 years. And I so enjoyed spending this time with him, as I always do. But this is the first time you met him, Dad. What was your impression? What did you take away from the time we've just spent together?
To be honest, son, it was a privilege to meet him. And I learned from what he said that his father was caring and nurturing and looked after his son's development. And he has just naturally extended that to his boys and the broader community. And it's awe-inspiring.
Yeah, and I think there's also a certain amount of playfulness and adventure and this sort of joyous spirit that he brings. Like I sometimes, I must admit, like just I look at myself sometimes, I wake up and I'm either a bit hungover or I'm a bit tired, and I'm like, I'm just going to take it easy today and not do too much, lie around, watch a bit of TV, watch the phone. And I know that Mike has already had a surf. He's taken his kids out. He's probably got a bunch of kids in the car. He's off up the coast. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not worthy. What am I doing in my life? This guy is just a dynamo.
I'd agree with you, son.
but I look, I mean, I say that, and you shouldn't compare yourself to others. If nothing else, you can glean, you can
learn from others.
You can learn from others. And he, some of those mornings out in Avalon Beach, we'd get up, the sun wouldn't be up, it'd be pitch black. Often it would be cold. We'd have to don full wetsuits, steam as they call them, and get on one of the the surf rescue boards, paddle out, and the sun would break over the horizon. And I'd be right up until that point, I was hating every second. I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing up at this time? And
you can't say fuck, by the way.
I can say whatever I like. And then you still got those old-fashioned values. I like that. But then, we'd be on the boards and the water would be glassy and the sun would come up and turn orange and pink. And suddenly you'd be like, oh, wow, I am so thankful to be here right now. And it was those sort of moments that made me really endeared me to Mike and the crew that we hung with, and I think that's what drives him, is just that connection to nature and the outdoors, and how important I guess that is.
And being immersed in the moment.
Yes.
Not getting out your bloody camera to record it and send it off to your Facebook mates. But actually being there, absorbing it through your whole body and enjoying it.
That's right. And there are often a bunch of us, maybe 5 or 6, and everyone would be having a laugh or giving each other shit if they didn't catch a wave properly or what have you. And that sort of connection, that presence, the feeling of water on your feet, and the sun, the warmth of the sun picking up. They talk about one of the fastest ways to get present is to come to your senses, being sight, sound, touch, and what have you.
Sorry to interrupt you, son, but the whole body is a sensory mechanism. The whole thing, every bit of skin, every muscle, every tendon. It's not just confined to the brain or the emotions.
Well, that's right, and I think those moments, they do sear into your memory, because of the sensation, because of what you're...
Because it's full. It's being absorbed by all of your body. I mean, parts of you are maintaining balance on the board through the wave. Parts of you are looking forward. Parts of you
the
are...
next wave. Yeah. It's you're fully alert, no doubt, and it's those sort of moments that I most associate with Mike. And that being said, we had lots of little treasure hunt things where you geotag little things that people would bury in places, and would take all the kids on adventures. So he epitomizes adventure and fun and investing energy into healthy pursuits. And you could just see it, you could just hear it in the way he came across. There's so much enthusiasm.
He's a human dynamo, and the energy is coming from the right place, and it's going to the right places and other people.
Yeah. Well, look, certainly someone I'm really proud to know. And when we started talking about season 2, and we've still got a bunch more guests to bring on, and no doubt we'll keep searching for different experts in different fields. But I just thought it'd be nice to bring some of the guys that have made a big impact in my life, who I don't want to overlook, because they are such important people who've offered me and others so much already. And there's lessons in those guys, and I'm lucky to know them.
Yeah, you are, son. You've led a privileged life in that category. And those people whom you've introduced to me so far, I've found to be extraordinary. Well, the 2 dimensions to that word. They're ordinary in the sense that they're unassuming, they're humble, there's no ego.
That's right.
And they're extraordinary in the way they apply their positive energy to the assistance of others. What's really important, son, is that it has to be a free gift from us. The moment you attach hooks to something, people become weary. And I don't like that practice in the modern world.
I hear you, but I do want to say that the Me&Him gold commemorative coin is going to be out very shortly. We want you to pre-order now.
You're going to make it from my ashes, are you?
Sprinkle a bit of Dad's ashes in there. That's the commemorative edition. All right, well, no, that's fine. I hear what you're saying. It's got to come from the heart. I think it has. Well, let's just keep this train on the tracks. We'll keep rolling. It's been such a great hour or so with you, and hope you have a great evening, and let's do it again soon, shall we? Next episode.
Look forward to that, son.
We got some amazing people in the wings, so yeah.
Hey, look, even at my age, I'm getting excited.
Don't get too excited.
That's really something.
Yeah, don't get too excited. Don't have a heart attack or anything. Come on.
Well, we shan't go any further. Because there could be some delicate blossoms listening.
Okay. No worries. Catch you soon.
Okay then. Bye.
Bye. The Me&Him podcast.